All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It's Dr. Rich Shadner back with you for another live stream from the writing department for WRIT Live. Hope everybody's been well since the break and so forth. How's everyone doing? Did you have a nice break time? Did you do a lot of reading? Did you do some writing? I'm in the process of moving. And so I spent a lot of time literally between grading essays, writing, and lifting boxes. So I'm not too far away from where I'm at right now. So it's a nice break though to because if you've been on the stream before, you know that I'm kind of about I'm all about movement. So give yourself some breaks. Stand if you can work on writing. If possible, but if not, make sure you're doing something that might open up some thinking about writing. And hello to Jen. Glad you're doing okay, working on assignments. Let me know what you're working on. I'm very curious. Students in my class are close to working on their major project. We're going to start that this week. We're doing some conferences a little bit later today to talk through those. Kind of like a situation you would see sort of with appointments, at the writing center. These one-on-ones are very important to me to vet ideas throughout this term, especially when we're getting into the latter half of it. I'm sure that, like the students in my class, you're gearing up for major projects or just getting through midterm exams, things like that. Okay, so on this week's stream, the topic is writing software in lieu of Word and Google Docs. I'm guessing many of you, Jen included, write your essays in one or the other, that is Word or Google Docs. They're both very effective for sharing, Google Docs being a bit more effective in terms of writing documents sort of collaboratively and saving things in the cloud and sort of real time. Word is also just as effective. A lot of times we're submitting things that you can use track changes with. Certainly, several people I've collaborated with will ask for track changes, and then I send it back to them. And then, that's the sort of flow. Both have their ups and downs, right? Like one requires you to sign in to certain programs. It can be a little kind of finicky in that way to look up version histories. At the same time, it's really nice to work on things in real time together, right, with Google Docs. Whereas Word, you're reliant on sort of sharing back and forth and looking at those changes. Okay, so Jen's saying using Word, working on a small critical analysis essay. Very cool, very cool. I was talking to someone about this as well, that seems like writing smaller essays can be just as challenging as larger ones. So when I say 500 words for papers that I'll assign for short essays, it can be pretty hard to cram all of those ideas in a really sophisticated way in 500 words. And using Word for decades, Jen is saying, yes, absolutely. I do. I feel you there on that. I've probably worked through every iteration of that in my time in writing, and then different sort of variations. It's usually baked into a lot of programs you already have on your computers, so it's hard to kind of break out of that. That doesn't mean you should. It's just I want to give you some options in case you want to use something different. And so what I'm kind of asking everybody is, what else is out there for us to try to kind of consider? And so I want to walk us through a few examples of writing software, starting with kind of minimal applications you can use and moving to more sophisticated ones. So you can see in front of me, I have a thing called Calmly Writer right now, which offers sort of a basic online version you can try now. Couple disclaimers I'll say real quick is that I'm going to cover some things that are free through and through. So you don't need anything, let alone even something to sign into. There's no cost even including your passwords and sort of information you may have to give sometimes when you sign up for these things. Others have free trials and some are paid, so I'm not being supported by any of these. These are just what I'm used to using. And what I want to sort of stress to you all is that oftentimes I'm using 2 of these for different tasks. So later on, I'm going to show you a thing called Written Kitten, which I've suggested in previous streams before. Oftentimes I just use that to kind of unlock some thinking and get the reward for seeing a picture of a kitten. And then I move that to a document. So your home base might be, let's say, Google Docs or Word. But if you're trying to just generate some different thinking or put yourself in a different space being used, like in the virtual sense, these might be really effective for you. And I want to take this even a step further, that as you're on the stream, if you have like a passage that you want to share, we can maybe do a doubling effect here where, something we could workshop. Feel free to post in like a paragraph or something in the chat, and then I'll put that actually on the screen through this program so that we can see what it looks like. Otherwise, I'll just do some free writing myself so that you can get a sense of how it works. Okay, those are my little disclaimers. As well, I want to mention that in the show notes, which is kind of this description of that you'll see with the YouTube video, all the links that I'm talking about should be there now. I had a little bit of trouble earlier this morning linking those in, but I think they're available now. If you just click on the description, you should see numerous links in sort of categories I have for the kind of writers we might be for this. And then lastly, if you have any questions that are sort of on the topic of writing but may not be right in line with the apps I'm discussing, feel free to pose those here. I'm comfortable kind of moving between questions and talking through what I have on the old agenda. All right, so let's talk about this one first. So maybe you see yourself as a minimalist writer, someone who just needs the basics. You need something like a Notepad in the virtual or sort of analog sense to get ideas down on the page. You don't need things like formatting just yet. You just need a blank slate, really, if you will. So Calmly Writer is something I came across recently. It's designed to be just that, nothing except a real notepad. It has some things like focus mode, what have you, that you can write with. But as you can see here, I have nothing but the blank page. So if I'm making this full screen, this is all I get. I don't get anything like formatting. I don't even know if I can do that. I think I can through some shorthands that I'm used to. So for me, like Command B is going to make that. If I do Command V, it will post in my show notes, as you can sort of see here. And for the most part, I want to see also if it's actually going to save everything for me. Because let's say you step away. The one thing that you have to be wary of when you're working on these sort of programs is how does it save everything? Because we know that's like what we don't want to lose, right? So maybe what I'll do is just copy paste this just to be safe, and we'll see. Okay, so that's the first thing I've confirmed that I was messing with this week, is that you're going to get some of those issues if you're working in this. But what's nice is you can toggle between full screen, and again, if I'm just saying nothing but a blank page, and I'm trying out this program to see what everyone on stream thinks. What do you think about something like this? Basic thing. You don't have to open up any programs, just your web browser. That's it. Could you see this being useful? Let me tinker with a couple things too, so we can see what that on the preferences so I can change a couple things. So if I'm going to kind of use this to get myself situated, what I'll probably do is turn on dark mode because that's a little easier for me, and then we'll see what focus mode does as well. So focus mode is basically the same concept. Focus mode, though, it looks like it blurs out different passages you're working on. So let's say you're trying to get that sentence down. You could say, this is not a bad program. But rather a good one for focusing. Yeah, I like as well, Jason. Yeah, the clutter is a really good term here because, again, like with Word, you're going to have part of the screen sort of committed to all your stylistic sort of choices you can make to look at fancy, make it look fancy. And I just start tinkering as soon as I see that. Okay, I'm going to add like the margin sort of changes. You can add pictures too, it looks like. So I was playing with that earlier as well. And what did we find? Let's just say I want... You're all going to see kitten pictures. Let me see if I can... Where is... Oh, okay. All right. So if I take this and download it, we'll just do a small picture. Maybe I just need to like write about this kitten. This is what I was walking through earlier today. Kittens and dogs will be themes of the stream, folks, if you, a fair warning. Okay, so we're back on that. We're going here, going back to this. We want to add a picture. Maybe it's just a picture we want to write about for a little bit, you know? A certain text, something like that. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so it's relatively small, I mean, and it allows you to, again, like write around it. So again, like this is, what's nice is once you break the paragraph, notice that you're not so much paying attention to what's up here. So if you're just trying to free write, I don't know about, some of you all may do this, but you line edit as you go. This, what I liked about this when I was trying it earlier is it eliminates that feeling if you turn on focus mode. So, so once you break the paragraph, you lose it there. Now, if you turn off focus mode, that's where we can still see. You can also change things like margins, what have you. The one thing, though, that I was super excited about, word counter is another thing. I'll talk about that in a second. You can also add Grammarly, but the typewriter sound. I mean, who's written on a typewriter? I would love to know. Like, I barely have, so if I can get closer to that sensation, I'm excited. You can hear that. It's kind of ticking lightly in the background. Probably hard to hear because I've got the music turned down a little bit. Let me just mute that, and then we can hear it together. The clacking of the keyboard of the typewriter. And I don't even know what the gender is. I'm not going to say that. Come on. Yeah. Yeah, like free writing without editing yourself, Jen, that seems like a great strategy. So we lose that. And you could hear the typewriter sound. Yeah, it's like just, I think that a lot of times, I mean, this is a research I'm working on right now too, is like we need those kind of ambient sounds of writing, you know, and I'm going to get to that a little bit more in the stream too, is ways that people are trying to emulate that by doing things like typewriter sounds and coffee shop sounds. So I'm going to say but for now, this kitten. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, and then at the bottom, a couple things too. I don't think it can be seen. I may have to move up my screen just a bit. Let me mute this thing here. You can see this at the bottom. So it's a bit hard to see, at least on my screen here, but what it says on the bottom is I've written 78 words, 318 characters, and the total reading time is about 17 seconds. So I might actually use this for a presentation I'm working on soon because I have 8 minutes, and that out loud, it's going to be a bit different. But 8 minutes, that gives me a sense of where I'm heading. Maybe it's 500 words. Maybe it's something less like that. Okay. So Call Me Writer, checking that out. See what looks like we might be interested in that a little bit. Music back on, and again, just be aware of if you sort of copy paste this, make sure you put it in another doc. Might seem like an extra step, but again, for just getting those ideas down, this could be a great thing. So if I refresh it, it's just gonna go away, which may not be a bad thing, but be wary of that. Okay, so that's one. The next one I want to talk about is, it's a bit more sophisticated, but it is called Ulysses. And I'm going to tell you why I like this one here in just a second. But Ulysses is, instead of like pages, what they call it are sheets. And they're trying to make it really simple for somebody to move their writing online. And so it kind of gives you that typewriter effect. We'll see that in a second. But these sheets are things you can like easily move into hypertext. But what's nice is it allows you to, it still emphasizes focus. And that's why I like this one. Strips down any need to do any formatting really. It uses a language called Markdown, which some people use. It's just without getting too far into what that actually means. It's a way of simplifying working with HTML. So you can use it in a sort of distraction-free plain text format and then later format it to be ready for the web if you want to take that step. So I've certainly done that as well. It's a subscription-based model that has a free trial. When I started using it, it was just a one-off sort of thing. You paid it one time and you were done, but they've moved into that model so that things can be kept in the cloud. But again, you've got that free trial, so it might be helpful to try. So here's what it looks like. We will open that up so that you can see. Okay. So again, like the same kind of concept. It's going to save it in real time for you. This is the sort of thing I wrote a while ago for students at a graduation. And you can see I'm using the focus mode. I've got the basics on the screen. I haven't worried about formatting or anything like that. And then what it offers on the top right here is some basic suggestions for doing things like emphasis or bolding, headings, and so forth. So up at the top, you'll see it says like pound sign and then headings. So you could just say something like this, like comments for graduating students. And it's going to do that. And so it's got like easy suggestions for you. And again, this is just so that if you want to move this to the web at some point, you can. It also has some pretty neat features that I've used just for focus purposes. It has a goal you can set on the right here. I'm just making sure that's coming through on the screen. So if my goal is at most, at least, or about, like an approximation. So if I said at least 100 words, it will show me that sort of goal. But if I say 500 words, or at most. If you're working on short form essays and your professors say you can't go anything over that much, some folks are sticklers like that. I certainly am. Just like that exercise of writing in short ways. You could do that. This could be good for posts, right? That you have. There's something about these notifications that can be really motivating for folks. You can also, share it on social media and things like that you met your goal. Haven't really checked out what that looks like, but let's see. Okay, so it just gives you a snapshot of what it looks like. So you put it in there. You can remind yourself that you're meeting these kind of goals. You can leave yourself notes. You can tag sort of keywords. You can add images, again, if you're looking for some kind of inspiration. It also gives you the number of paragraphs that you've written. As well as up here, the kind of signposts that you might have. So if I have two headings and I list it up here, I'm going to see both of those and I can zoom down to them. Another helpful thing is, let's say you are tasked with writing something for the web. You can export it in a bunch of different ways. So, if Jen wants to move it to a Word doc later, you could easily do that. Let's see, you've focused, you're ready to go, and then you want to move it to Word. You could certainly do that. You can look at previews of it. So this is how it would look if it was on the web. This is how it would look if it were in Word. How it would look as a sort of EPUB. Great things you can do with this. And just enough, right? You don't need that many options. You just need a few. And also, like the previous one, you've got a number of characters, number of words, sentences, paragraphs you've listed, number of pages, estimating. This is a huge thing for me. I've done this several times too. Let's say you're giving a presentation, you need to write your script, you need to workshop your script. It will tell you about how long it should be if it's read aloud. So I have to kind of keep in my mind, if about 200 words is roughly a minute and a half, that's not a lot of time, right? For a lot of words relatively. 1,000 words might be just enough for this upcoming presentation that I have. Yeah, so far, what do you think? Do you think you would rather use Calmly because it's absolutely free, or would you rather do something a little more sophisticated that has a cost to it with Ulysses? While I'm waiting, I know a lot of folks will use this too. They've had some new pushes to make this more accessible for folks who publish to WordPress. I know WordPress is popular with a number of students I work with. So, without having to worry about all the formatting that comes with WordPress, you can get this ready to export to it straight from here, which makes it just a little easier for everybody. So WordPress 2017 is the example that they're sort of using with this. And it looks just like it, right? What's the monthly? Yeah, let's check on that. Let's see. Ulysses. Let me check on that real quick. I'm curious myself. I didn't really look. Student licensing. So it says for 6 months, it's $15. Yeah. So you think about it, 30 a year, I think is the, if I have that right. Yeah, in Canadian at least. That's all the prices here. I'm gonna put this in the chat too, so that we can. How do we do that? It makes me open up another web browser. Come on. Yes, Jason, I like the goal feature as well. It's just enough. Hold that thought too, because there are other goals that kind of other programs have. Scrivener, which I'll talk about later, and Written Kitten do that as well. But it's a nice visualization too that you have here. So, and you can actually, what's cool too is you can move this around the screen. So if you just want to have it like pinned up to the top right of your screen, separate from the actual program, I'm usually having some kind of notes or something pinned to it as well. Great. Awesome. Okay, so we talked through that one. Let's look at another one. What we got here? Going back to my old list. All right. And before I transition to kind of more ambient writing situations, which I think are pretty cool, just remember you've got your good old Notepad. So, if you're using PC, for example, you've got Notepad that you can write in. For me, a lot of times I'll use Textedit on the Mac. I kind of move between the two, but it's reminding me I don't have enough space. Shocker, Rich, that you don't have the correct amount of space. So we'll just replace that. And so what I'll do usually is just make like a basic doc and say, this is a Notepad, and I'm writing my ideas here. It saves it as a file that you can put in virtually any program, because this is plain text. So plain text is essentially like a type of writing that doesn't have any kind of formatting to it at all. So I can easily paste this into, let's say, like a web browser without any issues. If I want to go back to Ulysses, for example, it's not going to give me any hang up if I do just that. Put it right in there. And I think we forget sometimes that this is just a good place to jot down ideas without being hung up on the formatting. But so just a little reminder to check that out. All right. So on to the more ambient kind of things. I would love to know for you all, like, what is your ideal composing situation or scene? You can see behind me, I've got a couple doors. I'm in my office. You can't see it, I guess, in front of me, but I've got, a window open that I can see out to, but by the Humber River. I like natural light. I've got another light in here. I've got music on, kind of piping through my headphones, and for you all. I mean, everything's got to be set up just right. Cup of coffee, things like that. A timer I can work on. But do you have like a certain vibe that you go for to get work done? Were there places on campus you used to go to, or that you've maybe had the fortunate opportunity to return back to? I would go hide in, I think it was in the Scott Library, so I would hide up on maybe the 5th floor. I can't even remember at this point. It was by Learning Commons. I would go up there at a small desk and just try to disappear, really. If I didn't want to work in my office on campus. And anyways, sometimes we need those. We need to replicate those, even just to disappear what we, sort of to help fade away what we see in front of us. And the way we can do that is by looking at things that are on the screen. So this next thing I'm going to mention it's called a place to write, and I think it's exclusive to Mac, unfortunately. But that's why I'm providing multiple avenues in case you're not working on that. But what this gives you is these kind of backgrounds that you can write on. And so one of them that I was working on was just like a sort of wintry background, like for the season. So if I open this up, you can see what it looks like a little bit. We'll just open up a new doc, and if I mute the music, you can hear this. And if I turn this on, let's see what the music sounds like. Can I do that? So it's bit faint on my end. Maybe you can hear it. You can. Now the nice thing is, okay, before we get to the settings, I mean, just look at this kind of background. It's a little bit in motion. I don't think the timer has actually started. This is all you get, folks. Like, so. So you got that typewriter effect. This is what you get. The nice thing about a place to write is you can change the settings quite a bit. There are things like character builders, different sort of random ideas for inspiration. So the mood is warm. There's a flag in a forest. I have to write something about that. Random words that you can generate. Character builders. The character is a disrespectful 30-year-old woman who works as a student. Driven by poverty, your character's goal is to find a new lease on life. So, yeah, it's kind of saying something interestingly here, but and it is a 30-year-old man who works as a researcher. Driven by their lack of morals, your character's goal is to become rich and powerful. Sounds like a novel waiting to be written. And then in the settings on the cogwheel, you can set the timer. You can also change the background music. I personally like this one. It's just that like creepy snow howling sort of thing going on there. And then, yeah, like keyboard sounds and once again, the timer. So every time I start this, you'll see it moving just subtly on the right there. I'll set it for 1 minute just to say like we'll do a 1 minute free write. And Jen, I'm glad you have a similar setup. I mean, we gotta have like books, some kind of view that we can train our eyes on every once in a while to get away from the screen. All right, so 1 minute, folks. You can see the timer going in there on the right. I just want to see what the timer looks like once it goes off. So when I was lost in the woods... We'll say that. Just being at the will of other shoe prints. Okay, so it's what it doesn't do is it doesn't stop the timer every time you continue working. So this might be actually useful if you're just trying to write in 5-minute spurts on a paragraph, and as soon as that timer goes off, you have to move on. That could be pretty interesting. So let's see what the other settings look like, just so we can check these out a little bit. Themes, we've got one that's a little more like rain oriented. We've got docs. Berlin. If you're trying to do some reading too, this could be really useful. After you're done, you can export it as HTML. So again, like if you're just trying to get this ready for the web, this could be a pretty useful sort of program. Again, the only problem is it's dependent on whether or not you have a Mac. I don't think it's for a PC, as far as I've been able to look up. But some other simple things too. You've got like characters and words you've written, other things that are good for inspiration. Don't want to keep that. So again, I've used that for a bit just to get the juices going, especially during lockdown times when we were all experiencing that. Okay, let me just kick the music back on. It's going to be loud for just a second. There we go. Okay. And nice thing too is, okay, so let's say like this is, let's say that a place to write doesn't work for you, okay? Because again, like it's contingent on a platform. There's a website called Coffitivity, which is designed to boost creativity. And they're even saying that there's like research supporting this, that people need those ambient sounds when they're writing. So if you have any of these programs open, you have Word open, you could do something like this. Let me just open this up so we can see like what that looks like. All right, so we got a blank doc. I'm gonna go with what Jen has said that Jen uses. So using Word, you could do something like this. Coffitivity, it's also in the link in the stream notes, but just this idea. Like in a way, we could just sit here like this in a Zoom call, keeping this on, just working. University undertones, scholarly sounds of a campus cafe. I don't know about you, but I miss those. I miss like going to a coffee shop on campus next to, I forget what was there. It was next to Great Canadian Bagel. And I don't have that. But this, in some way, gives you that flavor. There are numerous things on YouTube too that kind of give you those coffee jazz vibes. You can find those. I've certainly put those on for students. I even took like a short video and put it on loop. It's a steaming cup of coffee, I could put in the background while I'm working. But this is a kind of a cool open access way of getting into it. So. And this link is also interesting because they have numerous ones about blockages, right? So sometimes we need scenes to feel better as writing. Other times we need things to literally shut off applications. And this is what they're suggesting is different applications that would allow you to do that. There are things that actually shut off your internet, believe it or not. Okay, so that's another quick suggestion. I keep showing you these written kittens because it's like the pseudo preview for what we'll be doing soon. Okay, and then there's also this one. I think I like this one best because it doesn't give me like the fancy background. Maybe I can take care of that by putting up an image, say on Flickr, something like that. Let's just do that while we're at it. Let's just say I'm going to look at this picture again. And I'm going to put that on my left tab. So I've set up my situation. Okay. And there's a demo here I've also linked in this show description. It's called Type Boost. And basically, as you write, it generates classical music for you. When you stop writing, it turns it off. So again, I'm just going to write about this cat because this is like the theme I'm going to have running through this whole stream. So again, it says Type Boost plays music when you type to encourage you to keep typing until your essay is done. If you stop typing, the music fades away. Try it out. So again, on the right side of this screen is a picture. Okay, so I've stopped typing, hands are up in the air. So pretty simple, but it gives you like a pretty good grace period, couple seconds before it stops fading. And then it kicks right back into it. get to those 50 words. Let's see. It's showing me the bar. That's a nice little motivator. Okay, so it's... I mean, this also might like be useful too, in the sense that, let's say you're writing like an email and you just need to get that motivation, just short passages. You know, if it's one of those emails you really don't want to send to like a colleague or something, this could be useful. Yeah, and to Jen's point, I do like the classical music rather than coffee shop when I'm writing. Yeah, I mean, I have headphones on a lot of times when I'm actually working anyways. So I'm listening to my own music. So again, if I've got this piping in, it could be interesting. If you come back next week, you will hear, we'll talk a bit more about terrifying sounds. There's a program we're going to look at called Write or Die, which plays really heinous sounds, so to say, when you stop writing. So it's like grinding of like cars and gears and stuff like that. And then it can actually delete your content if you stop writing. There are ones that do that as well. But for now, we're thinking more about like sort of ambient situations, programs, good feelings that might be useful. All right, so where are we at on the agenda? I'm going to talk about this in just a second. Written Kitten. It's very straightforward. But for now, I just want to take a really quick break. Boy, 45 minutes goes quickly. I just blab, right? But I'm really enjoying this chat we're having. So let me just stand up for a second. I encourage you to do so as well. For now, I'll just leave these nice pictures of cats up while I shut off my cam. Be right back. Actually, I'll just go to the Be Right Back page. Go to that. Okay, back with you all. Just a quick break. Again, what can we do to give ourselves permission to take breaks when we're sort of the screen? One thing that may be running through this besides cats is that I like small goals for writing. It comes with the responsibility of sort of breaking out your time. If you've got a project that's coming up, like making sure you can do it in small spurts. that works well for me. So usually I'm trying to do between 200 to 500 words when I've got a project coming up. It's, you know, at that point, like, I can walk away from it. If I write more, that's great. But if I hit that small word count, I'll never disappoint myself. So I always do that. And I find that, like, once I go past 200 words, as you sort of see up here, I usually want to keep writing more anyways. So it's just the sort of habit of mind that I've developed. But yeah, like, it allows me to take more breaks, things like that, even just for a couple minutes at a time. All right, so I have 2 more things to suggest with the time we have remaining. Again, like, just survey of what's out there. It seems like some of you haven't heard of these. That's a good thing, because I want to make sure this is helpful for you. This is one I've kind of sworn by, that one of my dissertation professors recommended, or advisor, my dissertation advisor recommended. It was called Written Kitten, and it's just like exactly as it sounds. For every amount of words you write, let's say it's from 100 to 1,000, you get a kitten picture here. So this picture of the Persian cat on the left came from Written Kitten. So earlier today, I was working on part of my book, which is about sort of game developers and their relations to writers. And you know, you see my word count is currently 215 words, and this will pull it from top cat photos from Flickr, which is a photo distribution service, and then post it right here for you. So for the writer who needs rewards, besides the ones we saw from Ulysses or A Place to Write, like, this is a real basic way. You've got a small box you write in, and that's it. As I've already shown you the kittens, though, we'll see what it looks like with puppies. So let's see if I can get, like, about, you know, I'll just refresh this and we can try it again. So my word count is currently 0, and then we just start typing a bunch of different things. We'll see it quickly. If anyone has a line they want to put into the chat, feel free to list it as well. For now, I'll just write about the beagle that I used to have. So let's see. Well, it's already given me one. Okay, so that didn't exactly work for some reason. I don't know why. She was about 12 weeks old. So I'll just put a few of those in there. So we got a couple. See if we can get a few more. For 12 years. Okay, that's how long that was. What else do I want to say? Trying to think. When I was working on my dissertation, my second beagle, Rosie, often sat right next to me at my desk in the basement. There was a comfort to that experience. She often reminded me to, we'll just say, get out of my chair, let her outside, go for walks. Okay, we did it. So we got girl holding a white blind dog right here from Flickr. If you click on it, it'll show you where it actually came from. And so what I've been doing, actually, while I've been working on my book is every time I make one, I'll put it over. I gotta like let this go real quick. Let's see there. Go back to the screen. I've been saving all these, so all the pictures I have are from so what I'm hoping to do one day is actually dedicate part of the book to like all of these kitten photos that sort of happen. But yeah, it's just a fun thing to try. The nice thing too is you can change this to like bunny, but you can also, if you're in the browser bar, it'll show you this. You can change it to something like bacon. And I don't know what it's going to produce, so fair warning, but let's just say like we post like this twice. And we'll see if we get like a picture of bacon. No, we got a dinosaur. Okay. Oh. We keep getting dinosaurs. So it's a little, fickle, but again, like the novel concept is there. Like if you want just pictures of kittens, you're going to get it. Other rewards we might have, which reminds me, like, what are some things you do to reward yourself when you get things done? I mean, beyond the grade, right? Like, that's always the thing I think we're after a lot of times in our classes is the reward for doing the writing is that you get some kind of mark. But are there like personal motivators you have, like more intrinsic ones? Nice photos or your favorite beverage or something like that. What do you do when you finish a project? I would love to know. I am asking because that's something that I'm currently thinking about. What are the things I can do to reward myself? Right now, written kitten is enough. So the last thing I want to mention is Scrivener. This is a pretty robust program. I'm not sure where everybody is in their projects. I've talked with some students who are working on, like Jen, who's working on just short essays. Other students who are working on like their major project for their thesis, their dissertation. Scrivener is more for the writer who has large projects to work through, I would say. And so this is available on the Literature and Latte website, but it's kind of like, imagine it as Word for the professional writer or for someone who's handling a large project, who needs to parse out multiple chapters, who needs to be able to see them all together rather than scrolling through it. And Jen is saying, working as well as longer assignment and then working on a draft memoir. Very interesting. Yeah, so Scrivener can be really helpful for you as well. So let me show you what this looks like. There are, I think, free trials out there. I needed to double check that. Let me check. It's one thing I keep forgetting to mention is that. So yeah, you can download a free trial. It'll give you 30 days, and then it stops working at that point. Then I'm trying to think on the cost. Let's check. So it's a one-time subscription, or not subscription, it's a one-time download. So it's about $56. And it's available for PC and Mac as well. So if you want to use it. And also on iPhone devices. So you can, or sort of mobile devices, I think, on Android as well as iOS. So, I mean, the one-time cost's better than having the subscription model. You get a lot out of it. I'll show you why. Okay, so it's based on how often you open it. So I assume it starts the day every time you open it. So you get like basically 30 days of opening it before it's out, if I'm reading that right. So Scrivener, as I said, great for big projects. Once you open it up, you can see there's a bunch of different templates they kind of give you, like you would see in Word. From working on like an undergraduate humanities essay to scripts, screenplays. It gives you a lot of that formatting, gives you the blank page, other miscellaneous sort of things. it's going to give you. So right now for my book, this is what I'm working with. And often it gives you a binder or a draft that'll show you up here. And the nice thing is you could just start a new one and it looks, it's a new page. It's just separated for you. So you've already kind of got that table of contents and you can shift it around. So if I want to move chapter 2 and 3, I can easily shift this without having to copy paste everything around in order. And just like the previous one suggested, you've got like different focus, like composition modes you can use to train on a thought or an idea. You can go to different parts of the draft. Here you can change the scale of it, the page position, move it around, the width if you want to look at it like that. I faded the background completely, but you can have your background up just like that. So again, like if we're staying on brand with all the sort of suggestions, or let's say I just want my music, I want to see what I'm listening to, I could do something like this where I have it just like that. Right, so if I want to have that check, that could be quite nice as well. So let's you do that. Another great thing is, like, let's say you've done a lot of research and you don't want it to like stick to your actual essay. You need to put it somewhere. I take documents all the time and just paste them in here. You can put in audio files. You can put in development notes. Like all of these quotes I have from interviews that I've been doing over the last 2 years, I put them right in here that are relevant to the chapter. So like a kind of way to put all of your thinking that's not going to make it onto the final manuscript can go here. Checklists, things like that you can put. Once you've got like names of your chapters, you can actually make it into corkboards, they call them. So you can look at it like this. It's nice and robust for the writer who has a lot of different needs for a text. Jenna's saying it is, we talked about being free. I've heard there's a lot to it. It can be complicated. Yes. So this is kind of the antithesis maybe of what we previously looked at. Like we've got these really simple programs, but this can be pretty daunting, and you could spend a whole day just tinkering your setup, right? It gets even more layered when you're trying to export it all, which you have to compile into a draft. It's not as simple as just like saving and exporting or printing. There's a lot you can put into it to look at the way you want it to when you move it to something like Word or a web page, plain text, things like that. Two other things, and then we'll finish up. So that's my draft right now. So like right now I'm working on this chapter. The cool thing too is you could do snapshots, almost like track changes. So on the right, I probably should have done that a while ago anyways. You can compare and contrast different versions right in the application while having to do the kind of manual way of checking changes you can do in Word. You can leave yourself comments and footnotes. It'll actually export that for you. Other tags, notes and synopses. So this is great, especially for folks who are working like in fiction and creative nonfiction contexts. But what I do, just for the sake of keeping myself a little more sane in the process, is I'll just do no style up top and then pick my favorite font of choice, which is Garamond. So Garamond forever. I will always defend that one. I just love the way it looks. So yeah, I mean, you can also set targets for how many words you want on the page. It'll give you notifications. My absolute favorite thing, though, of this entire thing is project targets that you have. You can set this up on the right. So I'm trying to get to 31,000 words by November 1st. Small goals. It'll calculate for you how long you have, the days you're planning to work, and whether it wants to count written text anywhere or just in the draft. You'll say my deadline is this. and it'll automatically tell you, you need to be producing 200 some words a day. So this helped me realize that I thrive on small goals. So I'll use Written Kitten to write those, small passages, and then I'll paste it in here later. And that's what I did this morning before we started writing on stream. Okay, so we are at 12:34. I've talked a little bit more overtime, but that's okay because I love talking about this stuff. It doesn't feel like work. I'm lucky to be doing this stream and to have you for the company. So just a couple quick reminders. In the show description, you can see links to Writing Center appointments. You can also sign up for appointments with me on the Writing Center website. If you want to check that out as well, feel free to. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to be back here next Wednesday for the stream talking about writing programs that will terrify you. So we will look at Write or Die or others. I'm also checking out the chat. Sriana is asking, can we incorporate citation software in Scrivener? I tried to check that out because there was somebody who talked about Zotero as whether you can incorporate Zotero into it. And I'm going to post this into the link because I saved it thinking that might actually come up. But there's no plugin for Zotero for Scrivener last time I checked, but they had recommended a couple ways that you could do that. So let me put this in the actual chat for you so you could check that out. And that's a whole another conversation about citations. I am sorry to say that I am kind of old school where I'll do it myself because it's always wrong when I'm using like Google Scholar and things like that. There's just it's about control, but it's a very time consuming, and I don't like that I do that, but I just haven't found like a really efficient way. But maybe Sriana, you're using something that's really effective, like Zotero. I just need to get more used to it. So that could be my task by the end of this stream season, something like that. But yeah, do we have any other questions, things that folks want to bring up? Feel free to hang on here for just a minute. Alrighty then. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to the channel. You get notifications about when we are streaming again. Again, for the most part, until the end of the term, I'll be here on Wednesdays from 11:30 EST to 12:30 or so. And then I'm also in the Writing Center on Thursdays from 10:30 to 2:30. So feel free to keep in touch, and talk to you soon.